Hey man, you want to come to Derry and get murdered?
Well, now it's time to find out if the Losers Club can take out Pennywise. Here's It, Chapter 2.
Okay, kids, get ready.
This meeting of the Losers Club has officially begun.
Oh, we're not gonna like this, are we?
So it's 27 years later at the Derry Fair, where this couple's hanging out. But some little shit doesn't like the gay dudes exist, so he, his brother, and his brother's friends beat them up and throw the one that was just visiting Adrian in the river.
And he dies.
No, actually he survives that, but Pennywise is just standing there waiting for him, and then he dies.
But I thought he killed kids.
Well, not always. The settlers weren't kids, and the ironworks explosion killed some adults. I think he just likes a lot of seasoning on his meat, and kids get scared easier.
You all taste so much better when you're afraid.
But someone just dropped a meal off on his doorstep, so what do you expect him to do?
You can't just walk away from this.
Now Mike happens to have a police scanner set up at his house, and goes to check out the scene.
So he's a policeman?
No, he just listens to the scanner to find out if Pennywise is coming back.
I'm the cop. You're the librarian.
And at the scene, he gets suspicious because there are red balloons that say "I love Derry" at the Derry Canal Days Festival that has hats that say the exact same thing.
What's the matter? One balloon, not enough. Try on!
But then he's sure when he sees "Come Home" written in blood like really high up. So he calls Bill, who he hasn't spoken to since that summer, and is all, "It's Mike."
Mike who?
He didn't say his last name when he was calling somebody that he hasn't spoken to in almost 30 years.
Yeah, it would be one thing if his name was like Fergus or some shit, but Mike learns nothing from this call, and when he calls Eddie, does the exact same shit.
Like who?
So to avoid confusion, he gives his full name to Ben, but then plays the same fucking name game with Stan right after.
I'm sorry?
No one else remembered either.
And all but Ben have crap happen because he called. Bill starts stuttering again, Eddie gets into a wreck, Richie throws up and bombs his set, Bev's husband kicks the crap out of her, and Stan makes a mess in the bathroom.
What the fuck? You were fine like 5 seconds ago.
But all of them agreed to come to Derry the next day and meet for dinner. And when they show up, Bev doesn't recognize Ben because sometime in the last 27 years, he became a beefcake.
You're hot.
And then none of them remember Pennywise or why they were scared of Derry, but all comment on how Stan was too much of a pussy to show up.
You're insane!
So why do they think that Stan not coming was him being scared?
Oh, they were all scared. They just don't know why. But while making fun of themselves for being afraid, they start to remember Pennywise. They ask Mike about it, but start yelling over him as he tries to explain that it's starting again.
Yeah, suppose we give Mike a chance to fill us in before we scatter to the four winds, or is that too much trouble?
Mike knows that they need to act soon, because it's about to go back into hibernation.
We don't have much time. This cycle will end soon.
But he just realized that Pennywise was back. And the cycle lasts like a year.
Well, he had to be sure. I mean, kids were going missing and people were dying right on schedule, but it could have just been a coincidence.
Because it just bounced back.
Their fortune cookies just have one word each in them, so Bill starts trying to make a sentence with them before they're all open, and everyone frantically tries to figure it out. Like, this fortune cookie word puzzle is the most important thing they've ever done.
He's hearing the voice of God through a crossword puzzle.
But Bev opens hers that has Stan's name, and freaky shit starts happening with the other fortune cookies.
Hey, that fortune cookie's looking at me!
They run away to the parking lot, where Bev calls Stan's wife, who tells her what happened, but Bev already seems to know. They freak out and are pissed at Mike for not talking about the murder clown over the phone, but he defends himself by reminding them that kids are gonna die. But they're like, fuck those kids, we're out, and go back to the hotel to get their crap and leave.
Let's get our shit and get the fuck out of here.
Well, everyone except Bill, who Mike convinces to go back to his place for him to explain, and instead, he drugs him.
I don't feel real good.
See, before Derry was a town, the Chappapewa Indians lived there, and it attacked them. So they did the smart thing and moved. However, they were nice enough to drug Mike with a special hallucinogen that only shows someone about it. He turns out to be an alien that lived a really long time ago.
Just a few billion years.
Well, how long have people existed?
About 300,000 years.
Then how did the Indians know how it got here?
Shut up. The magic root that only creates one kind of vision showed him. And Mike is all excited because Pennywise doesn't know that he went to see the Indians and knows all this stuff.
But Pennywise can read their minds, otherwise he wouldn't know how to scare them.
I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true.
Mike was told about a ritual that will stop it by magical Indians. So Mike and Bill need to convince the others to stay and do the ritual with them because it will only work if they're all together.
It's about the group. The ritual doesn't work without the group.
But if the Indians knew how to stop it, why did they have to move out of the area?
None of this makes any sense.
Shut up! There is a magical ritual that is carved on this container thing, and the losers need to perform it, okay?
Okay.
So while Bill was tripping balls, the rest of them were packing their crap. But Ben notices that Bev is acting weird, and calls her out for knowing how Stan died before his wife told her. Turns out, for the last 27 years, she's been having nightmares about all of them dying horrific deaths.
Every night since Derry.
But since she didn't remember him, she didn't know who was dying until they met back up.
But you said she didn't recognize Ben.
Yeah, well, she looked mildly confused when she saw him, instead of the freaked out look she should have had in the moment she realized, there's the dude I dream about dying all the time.
See you in your dreams.
But anyway, apparently they need to kill him, or her nightmares are gonna come true. So that, plus Bill and Mike getting there and telling them how to kill Pennywise, gets them all to stay. The next morning, Ben finds the old clubhouse, and Mike tells them that the ritual revolves around memory, and that they all need to find an object that exemplifies who they were that summer to sacrifice to the ritual.
But if the Chapapequas were living in the area when they created the ritual, and Mike remembers because he stayed in the area, then why would the ritual be about memory?
Look, it's a Native American ritual, okay? Now, do you know more about how to kill murder aliens than the Native Americans who have magical roots that show you how to kill it?
Guess not.
Then shut the fuck up about the ritual, okay?
Are you gonna be like this the entire time?
So Mike tells them that they can only find their tokens alone because otherwise they won't remember what happened after they fought. So even though they were just talking about how there's safety in numbers, Mike says no. So they all separate to find that one perfect item that will tell everyone who they were and have flashbacks.
I remember you guys in your tidy whities.
Bev goes home and expects that her creepy ass dad hasn't moved out of his shitty apartment, but it turns out an old lady lives there. She tells her that her dad's dead, and then makes her come in for tea. While the old bat's in the kitchen, Bev wanders off to find her smash stash, but then things get weird. The old lady starts talking like her dad,
I worry about you, Bevy.
and then comes out of the kitchen like a huge claymation troll.
She hot? No, Richie. She's not hot.
Bev runs away, but now the apartment is old and run down, and before she can get out, Pennywise tells her that they're still all gonna die.
Well, yeah, they haven't done anything yet, so why would it have changed?
He just did it to creep her out, okay? Richie goes to the arcade, where he tried to make another friend after the losers broke up, but it turned out to be Henry Bowers' cousin, so they made fun of him and he ran away. And then when he got outside, Paul Bunyan tried to kill him, but he convinced himself that it wasn't real, so he was safe. So adult Richie figures, what better for a sacrifice token than a token?
You brought an actual token?
Then he goes outside, and that dead Adrian guy gives him his own memorial card. Then Pennywise shows up and makes fun of him. So he closes his eyes and tries to convince himself that it isn't real, but can't, so Pennywise chases him away.
Get out before it gets dark tonight.
Bill walks by a junk shop and sees his old bike. He buys it, and as he rides it, pieces are falling off. But as everyone knows, if you just keep going, bikes will fix themselves.
Hi-yo, Silver! Away!
And he rides back to his old neighborhood. He goes to the drain where Pennywise killed Georgie and yells at it like a weirdo. Then he sees Georgie's hand reaching out for him, and we find out that old Bill is even dumber than young Bill. Cause while young Bill thought that Georgie was just sitting in a puddle for 8 months, old Bill thinks he's been living in a storm drain for 27 years.
You haven't aged a day.
And when he tries to save Georgie, these hands start grabbing him to pull him in there. But he's able to fight his arm free and manages to get the boat that he made for Georgie in the process.
Convenient.
He then sees a kid that's living in his old house. He says he hears voices in the drain, and Bill freaks out and scares the kid more than hearing the voices does. So he fucks off.
I think I'm good.
Ben goes back to school, where as a kid, he did research in his spare time and was taking summer classes. But one day, Bev came to see him and was nice to him, so he tried to kiss her. But it wasn't Bev, it was Pennywise,
Kiss me, fat boy.
who chased him through the school until he ran into the janitor. Then Ben goes back to the hotel and finds Bev just sitting on the stairs, like that wouldn't be inconvenient to anyone wanting to go to their rooms.
Some people have no class.
But he sits there with her, so they're completely blocking the stairs, and he tries to flirt with her since he's hot now.
Would you believe I used to be fat? I was FAT.
You'll always be fat to me.
But she pulls out the postcard poem that he wrote her and starts daydreaming about Bill writing it for her. So Ben's like, I dropped all this weight and she still wants Bill? Jesus Christ.
I'll go fuck myself.
But before he can tell her the truth, Richie comes in and is like, fuck this, I'm out. So Ben goes to talk him out of it. Meanwhile, Eddie goes to the pharmacy, because where else would a second generation hypochondriac go? And he remembers the time he heard his mom yelling for help and found her strapped to a chair with a leper trying to attack her. Eventually, he had to abandon his mom and run away while the leper kissed her.
Me and your mom are very, very happy right now.
So old Eddie walks to the back of the pharmacy and is attacked again by the leper, but this time it wants to kiss him, but settles for just vomiting all over him. So Eddie freaks out and runs away back to the hotel where Bill is just getting back too. He goes to take a shower while Bev and Bill talk and stress the importance of all of them sticking together. And then they kiss. And while Bev may be leaving this asshole husband, Bill supposedly is happily married.
Fuck you, Bill.
But a skateboard comes down the stairs and he realizes that Pennywise must have the kid. So even though they just stress the importance of sticking together and she tries to convince him that he needs help, he goes off alone to find the kid at the fair. He gets there just in time to see the kid go into a funhouse, and after following him, he sees him in a glass maze, where the kid seems to be trapped in a box and Pennywise is on the other side. Bill and Pennywise both try to break the glass, but Pennywise is the only one that can make headway. The kid is terrified as Pennywise taunts him.
Don't you want a balloon?
And then the glass breaks and he dies.
Well, what would have happened if Bill hadn't gone there?
Well, the kid probably would have lived because Pennywise is pretty focused on them because he wants revenge.
I'll kill you all!
But while this is happening, Eddie's washing the leper vomit off his face and Henry Bowers sneaks up on him.
I thought Henry Bowers fell down a well.
He did, but he's fine. He just got washed into the Barrens and walked home. But the cops used excessive force to arrest him, and he spent the last 27 years in the nut house. But the same day the losers came back to Derry, Pennywise deputized Henry and helped him break out. Hochstetter gave him his knife back, which he used to kill a guard, and then Pennywise killed the other with a dog's head.
How did Pennywise kill the guard? If he doesn't believe, isn't he safe?
I don't know. Most of the time the person has to be scared or he lets them live.
That's why you didn't kill Beverly, because she wasn't afraid.
But sometimes the person isn't scared at all and he still kills them. But he helped Henry escape, and Hochstetter even drove Belch's car to pick him up and take him back to Derry. And that's when he showed up in Eddie's bathroom and stabbed him in the face.
So Eddie dies?
No, he's fine. He just got stabbed in the cheek. But then he hides behind the shower curtain, and when Henry finds him, he stabs him in the chest.
So Henry dies?
No, he's fine too. He just runs down the fire escape and drives away, which is the same thing Richie did earlier. And they both end up at the library where Richie finds Henry trying to kill Mike. So he stabs Bowers in the head, and now he dies.
Go blow your dad, you mullet-wearing asshole!
Eddie made it downstairs, where Ben's bragging about how he convinced Richie not to run away, and they see that Richie and Bowers are gone. So they go to the library and find that Richie pussing out was a good thing, since it meant that he was there to save Mike. But then Bill calls and says forget about all that working together crap, and even that magic ritual. You guys just leave, I got this.
What is his plan?
He doesn't have one. He's just mad Pennywise killed a kid, which he was perfectly fine with happening 24 hours ago.
We don't owe this town shit!
So now all of them have to rush to the lair and don't have time to go over what to do at the ritual. They get to the house at the same time as Bill, and even though Bill tries to talk him out of it, they convince him that they need to stick together.
Hey, statistically speaking, you look at survival scenarios, we're gonna do much better as a group.
So now they're going to go over the ritual before going in, right?
No, they just go in and immediately separate.
Yeah, splitting up would be dumb.
Mike, Bev, and Ben go one way, where Ben's stomach starts to hurt. He pulls up his shirt, not to show off his abs, but to see words being etched in them. Bev breaks the mirror where she can see Pennywise doing it, and everything disappears.
But if it wasn't really happening, why did Ben feel it? I thought the whole point was he makes him see things that aren't there, and it's only real if he's actually there doing them.
Stop trying to figure out how alien murder clowns work.
Come on, dude.
The other three find Stan's head in a fridge, and it tries to eat Richie's face. And Bill's barely keeping it off of him. And naturally, Eddie pushes out.
Stanley, we're not afraid of fucking spiders. I stand corrected.
But Ben comes in just in time to stab it, and it fucks off. Eddie wants to fuck off too, but Bev gives him a fence spire, so he's good now.
Just so you know, I get hurt, you're reliable.
They're wading through chest-deep sewer water when the claymation troll pops out in front of Bev and drags her underwater. And then everybody but Eddie goes in after her.
What'd I miss?
Naked grandma!
They manage to get her back, and then find Pennywise's hiding place. Then Mike starts babbling some weird shit, and goes down without consulting anyone. So they follow, but Eddie's freaked out and wants to leave, but Richie convinces him that he's brave because he married a fat woman.
What? Has Richie met his wife?
No, there is absolutely no reason for him to have this information. But this does manage to get Eddie to go down the hole. There, Mike pulls out the container he stole from the Indians.
Stole it? From Native Americans?
Are you fucking kidding me, Mike?
And has them throw their crap in it. Bev puts in her crappy postcard poem, Bill Georgie's boat, Eddie his inhaler, Mike the rock that Bev hit Henry with, and Ben the yearbook page that Bev signed, which he never took out of his wallet, which really makes his trip to the school fucking pointless.
Why am I here?
Oh, and they also put in a shower cap to represent Stan's pussy ass.
Because he died in the bathtub?
Sure.
Oh, he's a fucking pussy.
But the fire goes out, and the dead lights that make you catatonic with one glance show up above them, and they all stare at them for a minute before remembering that they shouldn't do that. So they shut their eyes, and Mike starts chanting some shit, and then yells at the others to chant with him, like they should have known that or something. But eventually the lights go into the container, but when Mike tries to put the lid on, a balloon comes out, and gets so big that it forces them to go into a tunnel. Eddie seems to think that the ritual worked, when they were clearly defeated by a balloon.
What the fuck are you laughing at?
But Pennywise taunts them about the fact that Mike didn't tell them about the last ritual, where he killed the Indians when they performed it. And to make sure they didn't find out that they failed, Mike destroyed the last side of the container.
So the Indians made a container with drawings of a ritual that nobody saw because everybody died. Then Mike not only stole this ancient artifact, but destroyed it?
Yes, he scribbled on a piece of history like a toddler with a crayon on a wall, or Henry Bowers with a knife on Ben's stomach. But then Pennywise turns into a giant spider, and since the ritual failed, Mike is just gonna let it kill him. But Bill saves him at the last second. It starts chasing him, and they get separated. Again.
Losers stick together.
Bill ends up in water, and comes up in his childhood basement, where he has to confront his younger self. He forgives himself for pretending to be sick, so Georgie had to go play by himself. And he does this by drowning Georgie and shooting his younger self in the head.
Didn't he kill Georgie the last time he attacked Pennywise?
Yeah, but he needed to do it again. You have no idea how therapeutic imagining yourself murdering a child can be.
He's probably the one doing it.
Anyway, Ben and Bev ended up together, but are then pulled apart in a parallel hallucination, where they're being drowned/buried alive. But Ben recites the crappy poem, and her realizing it was him gets her to escape and save him with the power of love or some shit.
What's so fucking romantic?
She didn't figure out it was him when he told all of them that he kept her signature in his wallet for 27 years.
No, Bill's the writer, so he's obviously the only one who could have written it.
I don't really know much poetry.
And finally, Richie and Eddie see a puppy. They all manage to get right back where they were, to find Pennywise ready to kill Mike again. Richie throws a rock at him, so he obviously needs to neutralize the threat, and lets Mike go and flashes Richie.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Eddie finally comes out of it, and since he was too chicken shit to save Richie earlier, he psychs himself up to harpoon Pennywise with the magical fence spire Bev gave him earlier.
It kills monsters.
Bullshit!
He goes to check on Richie, who comes out of the catatonic state without being kissed,
What makes her so different?
and then he gets stabbed and thrown down a tunnel.
Sacrifice. I nominate Eddie.
Wait, what?
They all run after him, and he's like, "I almost did it, guys!" And then just happens to say something about the leper he fought earlier feeling so small. So Mike remembers something the Indians told him before he stole their crap.
All living things must abide by the laws of the shape they inhabit.
So they ditch their dying friend to get it to shrink so they can actually kill it. But that doesn't work, so they think that they can make him feel small by bullying him.
What can you possibly say that would make any kind of a difference?
But making somebody feel small doesn't make them actually small.
Well, maybe it does for aliens that have access to your every thought and can take shape of anything they want. But since these kids were ruthlessly bullied their entire childhoods, they clearly have the best insults.
You're a mimic! A mimic!
There are worse things to be called.
Imposter!
Get some new material, champ.
That's all they've got?
I mean, honestly, they say worse shit teasing each other.
Oh, good going, fucknut.
But somehow this amateurish name calling works and he melts into the rocks.
But wouldn't he know that they're still scared of him?
I mean, he should. He even lunges at him one last time, and Mike nearly craps himself.
Ain't nothing like a little fear to make a paper man crumble.
And if the "I believe it'll work" crap actually worked, then Eddie should have been able to kill it. But instead, this crap works, and they rip out its heart, and the dead lights go out, and it dies. Then they go back to check on Eddie, but he's dead.
So sad.
Then the tunnels start caving in, so they have to leave him behind.
Why would the tunnels cave in?
I don't know, probably something to do with Pennywise being dead or some shit.
I think it makes more sense that Pennywise pretended to die because he was losing, and then he collapsed the tunnel so they would have to leave before they figured it out.
Maybe, but they leave, and Richie's really sad because he was in love with Eddie, Bill's forgiven himself, Bev and Ben are in love, and Mike can finally leave Derry.
I'll do anything to get the hell out of Derry.
But a few weeks later, they all get a letter from Stan. See, even though he was just making plans to go on vacation with his wife,
Okay, we are Buenos Aires bound.
he offed himself without giving her any closure. But he did take the time to write letters explaining his decision to 6 people he hadn't spoken to in 27 years.
I thought that you loved me.
And it turns out, what he did wasn't an act of selfish cowardice. It was altruistic.
Best feeling ever.
Tell me none of them buy that.
Oh, they eat that crap up. They're like, it's okay that he left us to fight the shape-shifting alien murder clown without him, because he really pushed out for the good of the group.
Who doesn't love splashing around in shitty water?
It's basically piss and shit, so I'm just telling you. Also, what is this? The Switchman Iron Maiden?
It's complicated.
Yeah, it is.
Hush, I'm pulling, moron.
Oh, thanks. Do you understand, dipshit?
Who's with me?
Losers stick together.
Holy shit, that's right.
Guess you could say that was long overdue.
The fun's just beginning.
I got a plan. Getting the fuck out of Dodge before this ends worse than one of Bill's books.